guess we'll start there. We'll talk about this fight because Khamzat and Usman, and I have a lot of respect for Usman. Tell me what you think of this, because I don't want to be insulting, but I've got to speak my mind. I've got to speak my mind.
Gotta be honest.
Yeah. The speed is going to be a real factor, I think, for him, because I think, and maybe I'm wrong, because I'm basing a lot of this on two things. When I say I think Usman slowed down a little, and I say that with great respect, but it happens. It does happen. And when you have wear and tear on your body, and when you have the knees that go pop goes the weasel, and the weasel goes pop, right? Whether they popped or not, right? There's issues with the knees. That's well documented. People know about that. He spoke about it at length on the Joe Rogan podcast. That has an effect. And as you're getting older, and when you're losing 2 fights, and in the Leon fight, I thought he looked a little slow. And as I said the other day, maybe that was because of the knockout. When I looked at him on the open workout the other day, it looked a little slow. Now, again, granted, sometimes people are of two mindsets. And let me ask you this. Sometimes when I was doing my open workouts, I would fucking go as fast as I can because I'm an egomaniac. And I want everyone to look and go, fucking hell, he looks sharp, he looks fast. Where some people come out and they just pitter-patter. Do you know? Maybe
I just blew it off. I just blew them. I blow them all off.
I thought, and it's hard to know because as you just said, and as we said, there's people have different approaches, and it looked like he wasn't going hard, you know what I mean? But when I saw him hitting pads and stuff, I thought he doesn't look particularly explosive, but it's hard to read into that. And then the knee pops, but there is a lot at stake for him. How do you break this fight down, Anthony? Don't give me a prediction yet, but how do you break this one down?
I think a lot of it comes down to how is Khamzat going to approach it? Is he going to I think if Khamzat decides he wants to wrestle, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a much harder fight. I really do. I know that sometimes Khamzat seems to want to prove a point. You know, he kind of in the bigger moments of his career, he is, other than the Gilbert fight, which I'm not faulting him for, because Gilbert is one of the last guys in that entire division that you want to just go out and start grappling and end up on the mat with. But in the bigger moments of his career, when it really mattered, he always chooses to fight and take the fight where he's most comfortable, which is the wrestling part of his game. If he just keeps it a striking affair, I do think that the speed and power advantage, without Kamaru having enough time to really adjust to the weight class and the speed of it and the carrying the extra weight, I think that he's going to be at a disadvantage on his feet.
I agree. I think he will be at a disadvantage speed-wise, not because Kamaru may have deteriorated from what I was saying before. No, not because of that. I just think Khamzat is naturally a faster guy. Mm-hmm. And I'm basing that on some of the sparring footage I've seen and some of the pad work and stuff I've seen. He does have very, very fast hands to go with the wrestling that he has. And the wrestling is a very good base to have, and he's good at it. So
but then I go back. Sorry, now I'm just like, as we're talking about it, then I go back to, like, we're just saying, like, kind of bluntly, like, okay, if it's on his feet, then Kamaru's going to be a disadvantage because of the striking. Well, like, he had no problem other than when he got caught early and dropped with Gilbert Burns. He stood right in front of him and kind of took Gilbert Burns out with a jab.
Khamzat?
No.
Oh, Gilbert. Yeah, no, sorry, Kamaru. Yeah,
Kamaru. But then Kamaru or Gilbert and Khamzat fight, and it's like a really competitive back and forth. And I think Gilbert landed a lot of big shots. Like, Gilbert was way more competitive with Khamzat than he was Kamaru. Again, styles make fights, and it's a little different, but
styles make fights. And again, I'm not discrediting that at all, because there is something to that. But you've also got to factor in that with Gilbert and Kamaru, there was a lot of personal tension there. They were very close. They were teammates and all the rest of it, you know, and they sparred with each other all the time, you know. So that gave Gilbert probably,
it takes away the unknown that we talk about.
It takes away the unknown. It also gives him confidence, because he's probably like, I land on you in the gym quite a lot, and I know the shots to get you with, and you know the shots to get me with. I'm just saying that's a bit more of a complicated puzzle.
Yeah, it's a little more complex.
Analyze. Yeah. But just going back to Khamzat, he was on Embedded today. He picked up DC like he was a little girl, right? They're having a little mess around wrestling. He grabs DC, picks him up. I'm just saying, that's a strong boy, okay? Because I don't know what DC's weighing these days, but it ain't nowhere near 265. Love you, DC. But he's constantly getting bigger and bigger suits at the UFC. I think he's trying to lose a bit of weight these days. Actually, last time I saw him, he'd come down a little bit. But either way, picking up DC, and it wasn't like, like...
he's nowhere close to 185.
Oh, no. You know, like Zhang Weili picked up, who was it? Shaq recently.
Yeah.
You know, when you're shooting low and they lean over your back and you pick them up. That's one thing. You know what I mean? And that's just using leverage and all the rest of it. You don't need to be that strong to do something like that. But to grab them in like a body lock and lift DC off his feet, that's a strong boy.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And he's naturally a bigger guy, 6'2" to 6 foot on Kamaru. I don't think Kamaru gets embarrassed. Obviously, I'm leaning towards Khamzat. I'm rooting for Kamaru, I will say, because he's such a great human being. And I think he shows up and he gives a good account. And certainly the Gilbert fight is something to lean upon, and certainly to weigh into the analysis for sure. There's definitely some weight to that. I think Khamzat's younger, he's fresher, he's on a roll. Mentally, he's got that undefeated streak. He sees Kamaru losing his last two, so this is a lot of stuff to work on the mindset for Khamzat. He looks at him like as damaged goods. And that's why it's up to Kamaru to rewrite history almost. I was looking at an article from Kevin Ioli from Yahoo Sports. I've just got it up here. He says in a span of 67 days, he went from his first fight in the UFC to his third. He not only established himself as a likely champion and a superior prospect, but also one of the most popular fighters in the UFC. He improved his overall MMA record to 9-0, his UFC run to 3-0. Finished Phillips by Dawes, Reese McKee at 3 minutes in the first round, and then in July, stopped Gerald Meerschaert. In those three fights, he landed 87 of 120 strikes, absorbed one significant strike, and completed 3 takedown attempts.
That's insane.
You know what I mean? It's insane.
That's
it is
crazy.
So
that like 87-1 significant strike ratio is crazy. It's hard to go through one fight with only taking one shot. That's like unheard of. He did it in 3. That's
3
crazy.
fights without taking a single shot against people that have made it to the UFC, that maybe, with respect to them, they're not title challengers or anything like that, but they made it to the UFC. They're tough guys in their neighborhood. They've done martial arts their entire life.
Meerschaert's been around a lot. He's got damn near as many fights as I do. John Phillips, I trained with him in Ireland years ago. That guy was pretty good back then. I mean,
he's a tough bastard.
He can crack.
Reese McKee, who he made look easy. Reese McKee just fought in Paris recently. I felt bad for him because he got a really, really tough matchup, and it was a hell of a fight. He's a tough guy, and he's a very skilled fighter, Reese McKee. Khamzat went through these people like it was nothing. And granted, yes, we have the Gilbert Burns one. But let's go back to Li Jingliang. Li Jingliang is no slouch. Remember, he picked him up. Dana, and then slams him down and chokes him out like he was f***ing around, like it was easy.
Yeah, like it was a
People
first
forget that. People look at the one night where he had a bit of adversity against Gilbert Burns and forget about all the other fights where he's just fucking marmalized everybody. So it's for those reasons I'm leaning towards Khamzat Chimaev.